Hey guys, had a couple of things recently that brought a topic to our attention that we just thought we'd run past you. So I'll just give you a couple of background stories first. So one of them is we were contacted by a Japanese TV station that were doing a story, and they wanted to know if they could use our video. Some of you might have seen it. It's the gasoline stand video, one of our oldest videos actually, very poorly edited. But it's an old video and it shows how good the service was in that particular Japanese service station, gas station. And it's sort of been popular on the internet because it's an interesting story. And the TV station contacted us and asked if they could use that video on a TV program, on a Sunday night TV program. And so of course we said yes. And then we saw what the story was going to be about. And the story was going to be about foreigners, how foreigners are impressed with the standard of service in Japan, and you know how they love coming here because the service is really good. So I sent an email back to them and said, yes, please feel free to use our video, but you know, can we expand on the story a little bit, because I think it is very true that, you know, we love the service in Japan. You know, all the foreigners love when we come here. We're always blown away how amazing the service is. It's, you know, among the best in the world for sure. But I said to them, something that isn't addressed is the fact that, you know, most places aren't English friendly, and that, you know, Japan wants more foreigners to come here, but they're going to have trouble getting foreigners to come here because people that can't speak Japanese to a high level are often too scared to come here. And we know this because we get messages and comments like this all the time. I'd love to visit Japan, but my Japanese isn't good enough. I'd love to visit Japan, but I can't speak Japanese. And that's fair enough. That's fair enough. The language, as we always say, the language in Japan is Japanese. But Japanese government wants more tourists here. And people coming here for a week or 2 weeks would love the place because it's so wonderful, but they can't learn Japanese to a high level just to come here for a holiday. It's easier to go to Europe or somewhere where you can travel around and just use English. Or even China. You can go to Hong Kong. You can go to Hong Kong and not speak Chinese. You can just speak English in Hong Kong. Or you can go to even South Korea, or, you know, lots of places that you can go where, you know, Vietnam, Thailand, lots of places in Asia that you can go where you can just speak English. But Japan really isn't one of them, not usually, you know, and it's something that, you know, if they really are serious about more tourists, it's something that they might want to address. So I mentioned this to the TV people, and they just totally didn't answer it, totally ignored it like I never said anything, and then went ahead and ran their story about how the foreigners love coming to Japan because the service is so good. Fair enough, fair enough. Then another couple of things that have come up recently is we made a series of videos, honesty test videos, where we're showing examples of how honest Japanese people are and how low the crime rate is here, and how as a result people here are very trusting. So one of the examples that we showed was a kiosk, a little cafe place that had been left unattended with the till open, with the cash register open. And it was like, look at this, isn't this amazing that the staff that work there are so blasé about crime that they just walk away and not even think about the till, you know. And it's a compliment to Japan. As we said, it shows how honest people in Japan are and how low the crime rate is, which is a wonderful thing, you know. And we got a whole heap of negative response to that from a small percentage of Japanese people. 500,000 Japanese people, 500,000 people saw that video, and a high percentage of them, more than half of them, were Japanese, because it went viral on Japanese YouTube, and on a Japanese website. So there's a good high percentage of the people that saw it were Japanese. And if you look at that video, you'll see 99% of the comments are in Japanese, and most of the people saying, hey, this is cool, and, you know, check that out, and some other comments too, you know, hey, we do have crime in Japan and things like that we know there is crime in Japan. It's just really low compared to the rest of the world, but yes. So there's a lot of reasonable comments, but every now and again we get someone that just loses their mind. You know, what are you showing this? It'll bring criminals to Japan. If foreigners see how this is in Japan, that the foreigners will come here. You know, so we've made a video since then saying don't commit crime in Japan, just to keep those people happy. They're all worried about that, you know. The next thing is, now this is going somewhere, these stories are going somewhere, just stick with me. There's one more I'll tell you, and there's another one we made about the motorcycles going to the front when you're driving, the motorcycles come to the front and cross through the red light and sit in the middle of the intersection, you know, through the red light, sit in the intersection, wait for the green light, and then off they go, which means they're crossing the pedestrian crossing. So we made that video to show you guys this is what happens, and to tell you that if you're driving a car or you're a pedestrian in Japan, be careful of the bikes, you know. And again, a lot of people went, oh yes, that happens. And there's also a few Japanese people that got very upset about that as well. Why are you showing this? They said, you know, in Japanese. If you look at the video, you'll see lots of Japanese comments. So in Japanese, they were saying, why are you showing this? Why are you showing this bad thing? Why are you showing this bad thing to everybody? You know, Japan is not all bad. Why are you showing this bad thing? So interesting. If you look at these things, you look at these things that are happening here. The TV station was a good example because if you watch Japanese TV, it's all mostly feel-good stuff. They don't do, you know, lots of other countries that TV people like to do exposés. They like to find, you know, the corrupt politician and do a big story on it. They like to find, you know, bad corrupt businessman who's doing something shady and show a story, or some pedophile guy, or, you know, they're a little bit sensationalist, probably too much in a lot of other countries where most of the stories are negative and dramatic and that sort of thing. But it's reality, isn't it? They're showing the reality, you know, and feel-good stuff too. But Japanese TV tends to be 99% feel-good stuff. So they don't show the negative stuff because Japanese people don't want to see negative stuff. And this is getting towards the point, is they don't want to see or hear negativity, right? Even if it's reality, they don't want to see it, they don't want to hear it. And Japanese TV know that. So if Japanese TV had done a story that I suggested on why so many foreigners love Japan but don't come here, if they'd done that story and explained it, it's because English friendly, maybe it would have benefited, but they know that it would have made some Japanese people feel uncomfortable and they would have changed the channel. Because it was not confrontational, but they would have felt it was confrontational or it was negative, and they would have changed the channel. Because most of them just don't want to hear any negativity. So then the same as with the crime thing. I made a video showing that, you know, look, this is how trusting that the one with the kiosk and the cash register was to show a good thing about Japan. But some of them interpret it, usually the ones that can't understand English, the people that couldn't understand English just saw it. And they got descriptions about it from other Japanese people. They couldn't really understand what I was saying, and they interpreted it as being, you know, encouraging foreigners to come here and commit crimes. And the video about the bikes, you know, the bikes jumping to the front of the queue. Now, we've made 1,100 videos talking about how wonderful Japan is. But now and again, we make a video showing something that might not be wonderful, but it's the reality. You know, it's not possible to report, which is what we try to do. We try to make documentary style videos reporting on what's in Japan. And it's not possible to make documentary style videos reporting on what's in any country in the world without showing some negative stuff. You know, it's just not reality. It's just not reality to just everything's... And we've been accused of this before. People have said to us before, you know, in the comments and oh, you look at Japan through rose-coloured glasses, you don't talk about the bad stuff. We get accused of that as well. So we're getting accused by some people of you know, not showing the true Japan, only showing the good stuff. And we get accused by other people of showing the negative stuff. You shouldn't show the negative stuff, you know. So the point of this video is, if you come to Japan, be aware that any sort of negativity at all will not be appreciated. Now, I know a few people, including one of my friends, and we got into a conversation one day, and there'd been some difficult stuff happening. There'd been some stuff that day, some cultural stuff, and it was, you know, a bank, involved a bank and some other business sort of stuff, and it was frustrating. Stuff that probably wouldn't have happened in another country. It was typical Japanese stuff, and it was frustrating. You know, it was about the wasting lots of time and lots of meetings and not talking directly and all that cultural stuff that we talked about before on this channel, and it was really frustrating. And my friend said, "How was today? How was your day?" And I said, "Oh, it was a bit frustrating." And she said, "Why?" And I know not to do this, but I got drawn into it because I was tired, I was over it, I was frustrated. And she said, "How was your day?" I said, "It was frustrating," and I should have left it at that. I should have left it at that. But she said, why? And so I told her, I said, look, I'm trying to sort this business thing out, and it's going on and on and on, and there's all these meetings and nothing's getting done, and everybody just talks and drinks green tea and nothing gets resolved. And I had a little bit of a rant about how frustrating it was. And at the end of it, she said to me, "Shogunai," and moved on to something else. And she was visibly pissed off. It was obvious that she didn't want to hear it, and shogunai. And this is the point of this video, guys, is you can do yourself damage here with people if you say anything negative at all. And my videos are an example of this. My videos are an example of this. If you watch any video that we've done that has any sort of negativity at all, even if you don't think it's negative and we don't think it's negative, if it can be perceived as being critical or as being negative, it will get a negative reaction from people. And that's what you'll find here, is you get someone and they're all happy and they're all good and they're all friendly. And what can be a trap too is if they can speak English. If you get someone who can speak English and you think you're getting a bond going with them, and they ask you something and you tell them the truth about something, that you don't like something, or that something makes you uncomfortable, or why is that, or something like that, critical or negative at all, that person can suddenly go, whoom, and you'll get this really cold, black, boof, go on, and then you might not see them again. They might just go, poof. Because it's sort of, the culture's different, and that it's seen as childish. It's seen as childish and selfish to address topics like this. And those of you who have seen all our how-to videos and lots of other videos will be recognizing this stuff. And that's why we make the how-to videos, is because, if you do the other stuff, you're seen as childish and selfish, and they just don't want to know about it. And even if it's a legitimate thing, like you'd think making a video showing the motorbikes cutting up to the front of the line is no big deal, right? And that, so what? And they're crossing the pedestrian crossing and into the crossing through the red light. What's the big deal? But because it's negative. It's because it's negative, it's a big deal. And so that's the point of this video. If you come here for a holiday or come here to live, it doesn't matter how close you think you are to that person, that Japanese person, just be really careful about anything that could make them uncomfortable. That's basically it, is that the reason that Japanese people don't do that is because they don't want to make the other person uncomfortable. So by me telling that girl how frustrating my day was, that was making her uncomfortable. So that was a bad thing to do. That was a childish, uncivilized thing to do, because it made her uncomfortable. So, it's just, in other cultures, talking to your friends about stuff like that is considered to be normal and healthy. And here it's just considered to be childish and selfish and inconsiderate, because it makes that other person feel bad. So it's difficult, it really is, and particularly if you live here long term and you get really close to people, maybe co-workers or girlfriends or boyfriends, even girlfriends or boyfriends. You come home to your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife here at the end of the day and complain about what a bad day you had, and complain about some person. That's probably the worst you can do, is complain about a person. But come back and say negative stuff, they just don't do it. I mean, some people do. This is, of course, again, this is all generalisations. Of course, some people do, but usually it gets a bad result. They're usually very contained. If the situation had been reversed, and I asked that girl if she'd had a really bad, frustrating day, and I said, "How's today?" she'd say, "Oh, it was okay." And that's the Japanese way of saying it was bad. It was okay. And that body language stuff is saying it was a bad day. And that's it. That's it. Usually that's it. And again, some exceptions. But if you watch the people here who are popular, or the people here who get on with other people, or people who are respected, you'll see that this is the way they behave. They don't do this stuff. There'll be exceptions where you do see people behaving like this, but what's the reaction they get? And worse still, if again, you don't have to take this advice, same as with all the other how-to videos. If you don't want to do this, of course you can do whatever you want, but watch what happens. Watch what happens. I mean, as aware as I am of this, now and again I make a mistake like I did with that lady, and as soon as you make the mistake, because you just get this boof, and her response, shogunai, it can't be helped. It can't be helped is what that means. It can't be helped, and moved on to something else straight away, with this really cold sort of. And quite often you can do damage with things like that you'll never be forgiven for. Quite often their opinion of you just plummets, and they go, "Oh right, okay, he's really childish and uncivilized," and that's it. So it's a cultural difference. It's a cultural difference. Yeah, there's always people that on videos like this. There's always comments like, "Oh, that's no good. They shouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that. They should do something else. They should. They shouldn't. They should. They shouldn't." Pointless. They do. The rules. That's the rules here. So, you know, complaining about it or saying it should be different, or, you know, it shouldn't be like that, or it should be different, or the reasons why that's bad or anything else, total waste of time. Total waste of time. This is just the way it is. But again, as with all the how-to videos, people can do as they choose, and they'll get the consequences of it. So our advice would be, keep it positive. Keep it positive. Just stay away from negative stuff. Because it's just a cultural difference. They don't. A lot of other cultures, we think that talking about negative stuff helps us sort of feel better about it because it's a release, and also quite often it can lead to results or solutions, which is the way a lot of other cultures see it. But it's not the way it's seen here. It's not the way it's seen. It's not like that for the reasons that we've overlapped on other videos about change and about the way things are done and that sort of thing. It's just a cultural difference. So yeah, keep it positive, guys. How's everything? Great! Fantastic, thank you. Everything's perfect. More videos coming soon.